Constant improvement in all areas of the fight game is an important aspect for the growth of a fighter's skills. It gives them the opportunity to strengthen their weak areas and helps them further elevate their skills. We have seen fighters suffer devastating losses, which has helped them to correct their mistakes and take their game to new heights. These certain changes are needed to become well-rounded in their game, which will help them in their preparation for their opponent. In 2018, we saw certain fighters make drastic changes to their fighting styles, where they rose to the occasion and took out a ranked fighter, solidifying themselves as a true contender in the weight class. So for this video, I'll be talking about the 10 most improved fighters of 2018. Number 10. Charles Oliveira. Charles Oliveira is a lightweight contender who as of late is starting to gain momentum in the weight class. He is known for his high-level submission game, where he currently holds the record for the most submissions in UFC history. He previously fought in the featherweight division where he absolutely drained himself to make the weight limit. In his fights, he didn't seem like himself, where he didn't get to see his full potential. Since coming back up to the lightweight division, we have seen massive changes in his fighting style, where he seems comfortable in the weight class. At the beginning of 2018, he was set to face the tough Clay Guida at UFC 225, where in the fight, he was quickly able to sink in a guillotine choke to get the victory in the first round. He next faced Christos Giagos at UFC Final 137, where he was able to dominate him with his grappling to get a rear naked choke finish in the second round. He was next scheduled to face UFC veteran Jim Miller in a rematch at UFC on Fox 31. Both fighters previously fought at UFC 124, where Charles Oliveira was caught in a knee bar in the first round. In their second fight, Charles Oliveira was able to quickly sink in a rear naked choke in the first round to get the submission victory. With 3 submission victories under his belt, I believe Charles Oliveira's confidence is at an all-time high, where I can see him staying undefeated in 2019. Number 9. Jan Błachowicz. Jan Błachowicz is a light heavyweight contender who out of nowhere has strung together a winning streak and is on the brink of a title shot. He has been able to turn things around quite drastically, which has elevated him in the rankings. He came into 2018 with 2 dominant performances, where he submitted Devin Clark by a standing rear naked choke at UFC Final 118 and dominated Jared Cannonier by a unanimous decision. In his first fight in the year, he was scheduled to face Jimmy Manuwa in a rematch at UFC Final 127. In their first fight at UFC Final 64, Jimmy Manuwa was able to neutralize Jan Blachowicz' striking game, but after the 3 rounds, the unanimous decision was given to Jimmy Manuwa. Both fighters had improved quite significantly since that fight, and a lot was at stake in this bout. When both fighters met for the second time, they both came out swinging, where Jan Blachowicz was able to drop Jimmy Manuwa with the uppercut. They continued to brawl for all 3 rounds, where the unanimous decision was given to Jan Blachowicz. He next faced the returning Nikita Krylov at UFC Final 136, where he was able to lock in an arm triangle choke in the second round to get the victory. With 4 dominant wins under his belt, he is surging with confidence, where the changes he has made has helped him tremendously. I believe if he continues to keep on winning, he'll definitely challenge for the title sooner than later. Number 8. Jessica Eye. Jessica Eye is a flyweight contender who's made quite the resurgence as of late. She had previously fought in the bantamweight division where she struggled to pick up a win for a very long time. She made her UFC debut losing to Alexis Davis by a split decision at UFC 170. She would next defeat Leslie Smith by TKO doctor stoppage at UFC 180. She would next lose 4 fights in a row to Miesha Tate, Juliana Pena, Sarah McMahon and Betch Correia. She was on the brink of being cut from the UFC roster, where the promotion decided to give her another chance in the newly formed flyweight division. She went back and made changes in her training camp, where she made a flyweight debut defeating Kalindra Faria by a split decision at UFC Final 124. She would next defeat Jessica Rose Clark by a unanimous decision at UFC Final 132, and last defeated Caitlin Chukagian by a split decision at UFC 231. With 3 solid wins, I believe she is the clear number 1 contender in the flyweight division, where her next fight will most likely be against the current UFC flyweight champion Valentina Shevchenko later this year. Jessica Eye has shown massive growth in her overall game, which has helped her to enter title contention. The new changes have turned Jessica Eye into a much better fighter, where hopefully she continues in her winning ways. Number 7. Junior Dos Santos. Junior Dos Santos is a former UFC heavyweight champion who once again has regained his old form and has looked great in his recent fights. He was able to win the UFC heavyweight title when he knocked out Cain Velasquez in the first round at UFC on Fox 1. Since that time, he has been through many ups and downs in his UFC career. He came into 2018 with the TKO loss to then UFC heavyweight champion Stipe Miocic at UFC 211. He was next set to headline UFC Final 133, where he welcomed the former World Series of Fighting heavyweight champion Blagoy Ivanov. Blagoy Ivanov was on a 5-fight winning streak and was expected to do big things in the promotion. In the fight, JDS was able to dominate all 5 rounds to win the fight by unanimous decision. He last faced the undefeated Taito Uvasa at UFC Final 142. Taito Uvasa had put together an impressive 3-fight winning streak and last pulled off a victory against Andrei Arlovski at UFC 225. In the fight, Junior Dos Santos was able to land a crushing right hand, dropping Taito Uvasa to the canvas. He next entered the full mount and rained down punches to get the TKO victory. It looks like Junior Dos Santos has got his confidence back and is slowly rising in the rankings. Hopefully he can keep winning and enter title contention in 2019. Number 6. Thiago Santos. Thiago Santos is a former middleweight fighter who has made quite the noise since entering the 205-pound division. He caused carnage at middleweight, where he had racked up some impressive knockouts. The one that sticks out the most is when he knocked out Jack Marshman with a spinning wheel kick at UFC Final 105. At the beginning of 2018, he was scheduled to face Anthony Smith at UFC Final 125. In the fight, he was able to knock Anthony Smith down with a body kick and followed up with punches to get the TKO victory. He was next scheduled to face David Branch at UFC Final 128, where he would get knocked out in the first round. He would make his return at UFC 227, where he would defeat Kevin Holland by unanimous decision, and Eric Anders at light heavyweight at UFC Final 137, finishing him by TKO in the third round. In his next fight, he would face ranked light heavyweight contender Jimmy Manuwa at UFC 231, where in the fight, both fighters came out swinging, where in the second round he was able to knock Jimmy Manuwa out with a crushing left hook. Thiago Santos has made his presence known in the light heavyweight division, where I believe he will continue to rise in the weight class. He is a great addition to the 205-pound division, where I can see him putting together more finishes in 2019. Number 5. Nina Ansaroff. Nina Ansaroff has quickly made herself into a legit contender in the strawweight division, with only a few fights due to the changes she has made in her training camp. After losing her first 2 fights in the UFC to Juliana Lima at UFC Final 56 and to Justine Kish at UFC 195, Nina Ansaroff went away to develop herself, where once she came back she would become a much more improved fighter. She would come back and defeat Jocelyn Jones-Lyberger at UFC Final 103 and Angela Hill at UFC Final 120. With 2 wins in a row, she would take it up a notch in 2018, where she would defeat Randa Marcos by a unanimous decision at UFC on Fox 30. She was next given a solid test in facing Claudia Gadelha at UFC 231. Claudia Gadelha had challenged for the title and was one of the most well-known names in the weight class. In the fight, Nina Ansaroff was able to push forward and done a great job with the offense on the feet, where after the 3 rounds, the unanimous decision was given to Nina Ansaroff. She has come a long way since making her UFC debut, where right now she is entering the title picture. I believe she looks better than ever, where after 1 or 2 more wins, she will be ready to challenge for the UFC strawweight title. Number 4. Anthony Smith. Anthony Smith is a former middleweight who has quickly solidified himself as a true contender amongst the elite of the light heavyweight division. He has used his devastating striking skills to completely wipe out his opponents in the 185-pound division, where right now he seems to be more well-rounded in his skills. At the beginning of 2018, he would face Thiago Santos at UFC Final 125, where he would lose the fight by a body kick in the second round. This loss would be a blessing in disguise, where next he made the decision to move up to the light heavyweight division and knocked out Rashad Evans just 53 seconds of the first round at UFC 225. He would next knock out Mauricio Shogun Hua at UFC Final 134 and last defeated Volkan Ozdemir by a rear naked choke at UFC Final 138. With 3 finishes in 2018, this has landed him the next title shot against the current UFC light heavyweight champion John Jones at UFC 235. Anthony Smith has come a long way, where he went from being a middleweight contender to moving up to the 205-pound division and challenging for the title. Anthony Smith has shown great improvements in his overall game, where he will definitely remain a top contender for many years to come. Number 3. Jessica Andrade. Jessica Andrade is a former bantamweight who is currently amongst the top 5 of the strawweight division. She had preserved the power she had at bantamweight, which has helped her overpower the strawweights in a dominant fashion. After losing to Raquel Pennington in UFC 191, Jessica Andrade made the decision to move down to the strawweight division and put together wins over Jessica Penne, Joanne Calderwood and Angela Hill, and was next given the opportunity to fight then UFC strawweight champion Ioana Jacek at UFC 211, where she would lose the fight by unanimous decision. She went back and made changes and came back to dominate Claudia Gadelha at UFC Final 117 and next defeated Tisha Torres by a unanimous decision at UFC on Fox 28 and last knocked out Karolina Kowalkiewicz in a brutal fashion to secure a second opportunity at a world title. With Rose Namajunas as the reigning UFC strawweight champion, I believe Jessica Andrade has the skills to dethrone Rose Namajunas to hold UFC gold. The changes Jessica Andrade has made has allowed her to dominate her recent fights, where it will be a difficult challenge to defeat her. Number 2. Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier has looked like a true sensation at lightweight, where he has conquered some big name fighters in a dominant fashion. Since his arrival to the division, we've seen Dustin Poirier make major improvements in his game, which has established him as a true contender in the weight class. At the end of 2017, Dustin Poirier was matched up against former UFC lightweight champion Anthony Pettis at UFC Final 120, where he would push forward and punish Anthony Pettis with his strikes, eventually getting the TKO victory in the third round. In early 2018, he would get matched up with fan favourite Justin Gaethje, headlining UFC on Fox 29. In the fight, Dustin Poirier would push forward and throw hard combinations, where in the 4th round he was able to throw a flurry of punches against the cage to get the TKO victory. His last fight involved him getting matched up against Eddie Alvarez in a rematch at UFC on Fox 30. Both fighters faced each other at UFC 211, where the fight would end in a no contest. In the rematch, Dustin Poirier seemed more composed and accurately picked his shots. In the second round, he was able to pick up the pace and landed hard devastating punches to get the TKO victory. Dustin Poirier has 4 solid victories victories under his belt and is now knocking on the door for a title shot. The improvements he has made has been evident in his performances, where he seems like a much better fighter than he was before. These changes will benefit him moving forward, where he definitely has the ability to hang with the best lightweights in the world. Number 1. Henry Cejudo. Henry Cejudo is the reigning UFC flyweight champion who has shown the greatest improvements in 2018. He was able to overcome all the odds to dethrone one of the most dominant champions in UFC history with the lessons he learned from his losses. He made his UFC debut where he defeated Dustin Poirier, Chris Carriazo, Chico Camus and Jussier da Silva. He was next in line for a title shot against Demetrius Johnson at UFC 197. In the fight, despite him taking DJ down briefly, his inexperience in the clinch would lead him to get finished in the first round by TKO. He would next lose a close split decision to Joseph Benavidez at the Ultimate Fighter 24 finale. With 2 losses in a row, Henry Cejudo knew that he had to change things up and he couldn't just rely on his wrestling. In 2017 he came back to face Wilson Hayes at UFC 215 where we saw a huge change in his stand-up skills. He was able to drop Wilson Hayes with a crushing right hand and followed up with punches to get the TKO victory. He would next dominate Sergio Pettis with his wrestling for all 3 rounds to get the unanimous decision victory. He was next given a second title shot against the man who already defeated him in Demetrius Johnson at UFC 227. In the fight, we saw a completely different Henry Cejudo, where he used his striking to set up his takedowns and was able to hold Demetrius Johnson down to win rounds. After a very close fight, the split decision was given to Henry Cejudo, who is now the new UFC flyweight champion of the world. Henry Cejudo has taken his game to another level, which has helped him utilize his strengths against his opponents. He is, in my opinion, the most improved fighter of 2018, where it'll be interesting to see how he progresses in the future. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, please make sure you hit that like button. And if you want to see more videos like this, please hit that subscribe button. So that was my list of the 10 most improved fighters of 2018. Let me know your honorable mentions in the comment section below. Also check out my last video where I talk about my 10 UFC predictions for 2019 and my other video where I talk about the 10 fighters who lost their confidence in 2018. I appreciate your support and I'll catch you guys next time.